Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable chill standing in an empty gas station at 3 in the morning? Psychologists call this feeling liminality, the instinctual vulnerability we experience when we find ourselves trapped in transitional spaces, meant for passing through, not staying. In 2022, a man named Daniel experienced exactly this. He was driving alone through the rain from Oregon to California. At exactly 2:47 a.m., with miles of empty asphalt stretching in every direction, he pulled into an isolated highway rest stop. The environment inside was defined by the mundane, just a humming vending machine, a single flickering lamp, and a solitary janitor quietly mopping the tiled floor near the bathroom entrance. But the illusion of safety shattered while Daniel was washing his hands. Reflected in the mirror, the door to one of the stalls hung slightly open. Standing inside, completely motionless, was a pair of bare, muddy women's feet. Startled, Daniel alerted the janitor working outside the door, but the older man didn't flinch. He didn't look surprised or scared. He just stared with a completely blank expression and whispered a single instruction: leave. Rest Stop 99 utilizes our innate dread of these empty in-between places. By giving a physical face to psychological discomfort, the story ensures the setting itself becomes the primary source of fear. Daniel retreated from the bathroom immediately. As he left, he noticed the wet, muddy footprints leading out of the stall, but they didn't point toward the exterior doors. They led straight out into the main hallway. He pushed his way outside into the freezing rain. Standing by the vending machine was a woman in a white dress. Her head was bowed, her hair soaked, and she was standing completely still. This chart shows the concept of the uncanny valley. It maps human likeness on the horizontal axis against our emotional response on the vertical axis. We naturally feel empathy for things that look and act human, but removing natural human movement causes a severe drop into repulsion. The woman doesn't walk. There were no footprints. She is simply closer, bypassing physical mechanics entirely, moving deep into the negative trough of our emotional response. Daniel scrambled into his car and slammed the locks. Suddenly, someone tapped on the passenger window. It was the janitor. He was breathing heavily, face entirely pale, and he whispered a frantic warning through the glass. Drive. She asks people for rides. This escalation sequence strips the predator of natural laws. When an antagonist ignores gravity and space, the protagonist's standard means of defense, like running, become irrelevant. Daniel floored the accelerator. He sped down the dark highway without tapping the brakes for a full hour, finally pulling into the bright fluorescent safety of a 24-hour gas station. Shaking, he recounted every detail to the cashier working the night shift. The cashier listened, went quiet, and offered a backstory. A few years back, a young woman had been killed instantly by a drunk driver at that exact rest stop. The cashier's story categorizes the threat. It maps onto the centuries-old archetype of the vanishing hitchhiker, a restless spirit forever attempting to secure a ride home from the site of her death. Identifying this classic trope acts as a deliberate tension release valve. By giving the ghost a familiar label and a tragic history, the narrative allows the audience and the protagonist to feel that the mystery is solved. The author feeds us this recognizable folklore structure to create a false sense of security. Effective horror requires releasing tension just as much as building it. Safe in the gas station, Daniel finally let out a nervous laugh. His heart rate settled. He believed the supernatural ordeal was behind him, a terrifying but ultimately harmless encounter with local history. Then the cashier asked one final question. Wait, did the janitor talk to you? When Daniel confirmed he had, the cashier stared back in silence and whispered that the highway rest stop hadn't employed a janitor in 6 years. This double twist changes the function of the janitor. The narrative uses his mundane occupation and calm demeanor to ground the audience in a reality that doesn't actually exist. Here is a timeline of the narrative structure. The jagged track represents the obvious supernatural threat, the woman in white. The smooth track below it represents our perceived reality anchor, the janitor. The narrative forced us to direct all our dread toward the ghost, masking the second anomaly standing right in plain sight. That final sentence retroactively alters the entire context of Daniel's escape. Every interaction in the bathroom now exists as a conversation with a phantom. This introduces the concept of the phantom guardian. Daniel was only able to survive the primary predator because he was being directed and protected by a secondary paranormal entity. This specific legend leaves us with the realization that in life's darkest liminal spaces, the saviors guiding us to the exit might be just as dead as the monsters waiting in the shadows.